Hello, YouTube family. This is Dr. Adetokunbo Borishade, coming to you again in this Pan-African Afrocentric channel that presents information, knowledge, and issues from an African perspective. I'm sorry if this offends anyone. If it does, all you have to do is go to another channel that makes you feel good. This channel is certainly not for you if you are looking for the same old butter biscuit eating, mealy-mouthed, cooning and bootlicking type of presentation. I am not here to make white people feel good. I am here to end their reign of terror with this false notion of white supremacy. The title of this video is Caucasian Extinction, a now, show enough reality. And it's time for Africans to reassess the self-proclaimed superior race. In fact, I would say that it is past time for this reassessment. We have learned of late that Caucasians and Asians carry the Neanderthal COVID-19 virus. Expert Caucasian virologists have traced the COVID-19 virus directly back to non-human Neanderthals. Oh, what does that have to do with Caucasians? Well, as we will go on in this lecture, we learn that Caucasians have 20% Neanderthal genes as a result of crossbreeding with them. But my question right now is, what do Chinese bats have to do with this? Haven't we been told by the media that the virus was traced back to Chinese people eating bats? You know there is a lie somewhere here. But let me go on. And of course, as we go along, you will see the documented evidence. So you can just pick up this link as we go along. You can pick up the link and do your own research. Let's move along. These Caucasian genetic scientists also report that non-Homo sapien, which is another way of saying non-human, these non-human Neanderthals are the source of several other diseases. Look at that. What diseases? Well, lupus, biliary cirrhosis, Crohn's disease, type 2 diabetes, prostate cancer, and of course, a severe form of COVID-19. And there are the websites where you can go and do your own research. So let me just hover here for a moment. Okay. Moving right along. National Geographic genetic experts. You know, Caucasians, white folks. Genetic experts in 2005. They discovered Caucasians and Asians carry Neanderthal genes. Caucasians crossbred with non-human Neanderthals for more than 1,000 years. Now something funny has happened. When the studies and everything, these DNA studies came out, starting with 2005, National Geographic, they had articles that anyone could just go and read and do some research all over the internet. But recently, National Geographic blocked these articles. They now require a monthly subscription fee. Now, perhaps it's because Africans like myself are paying a lot of attention to the fact that the self-proclaimed superior race carries non-human Neanderthal genes and the COVID-19 disease. It's Caucasian scientists who have traced it directly back to the Neanderthals. And who is it that carries Neanderthal genes? Caucasians. Now, probably due to African attention and discussion of this issue, some of these same scientists are now twisting themselves into pretzels, trying to flip the script, trying to reinterpret the genetic data of Neanderthal genes in Caucasians so that it also applies to Africans. Did they think we would not read and understand their research? Well, folks, nice try, but the facts still stand. And here at the bottom of the screen, you'll be able to copy this link. To add to your understanding, I've shown some physical or phenotypical differences between Africans and Caucasians. An extremely small number of continental Africans carry an extremely small amount of Neanderthal genes, and we are talking about either 0 or almost 0. And this is very evident from their physical appearance. Apparently, the Neanderthals were not as attractive to the modern Africans who were real human beings. Neanderthals were not that attractive to them. Now you can Google any image or reconstruction of a Neanderthal and compare it to the Caucasians. They look like brothers and sisters to me. Bam! There it is. Below, I've presented some African and Caucasian phenotypical or physical features that maximize survival in either a tropical climate or an Arctic climate. On the left side, you see physical characteristics of modern humans, Homo sapiens. Let me even talk about the Homo sapiens sapiens, because we went from just being thinking human beings, we evolved into what they call the doubly wise humans. And you can trace African human beings all the way back 200,000 years BCE. BCE, of course, means before the current era. Now, ask anyone in the medical profession, doctors and nurses, and they will tell you Africans have gracile features that are adapted to tropics. What does that mean? Well, let's look at the features. Africans then and now have dark brown to blue-black skin tones, and that blue-black skin tone is the most beautiful thing I have ever seen in my life. Dark brown eyes, high foreheads, and our foreheads are rounded. Black to brown textured hair, straight, the hair is straight, curly, wavy, kinky, all four. Africans have small noses with a deep cilium indentation. That's right between the eyes. We have a deep indentation there. Small noses with wide nostrils. We have full lips that are outturned at the mouth opening. Short torsos with long arms and legs. Round, well-developed buttocks. Now, I'm going to take a pause for the cause right here, because we love our nicely rounded, well-developed buttocks. How is it that became such a feature among African people or Africoid people? It's because we are God's original creation, and as we evolved as human beings, we've stood up and walked on two legs, 2 feet. It's the muscles in the buttocks that support erect posture. So since we have been walking around on 2 legs and 2 feet for more than 200,000 years, we developed these muscular, nicely, beautifully rounded buttocks that everyone wants. If you've been wondering why, that is the reason. Ask any doctor. And it is a black fact that Africans stand straighter than anyone else among all the human expressions on earth. We stand the straightest. Let me go on. Africans have smooth, hairless bodies, and that applies to both females and males. Now, of course, we are not talking about the pubic hair and the underarm hair, but the rest of the body is mostly hairless, smooth, black. We love it. Africans have multiple sweat glands and pores. And finally, a very thin layer of subcutaneous fat. Now, speaking on this alone is a whole 1 hour to 1.5 hour lecture. But these features are adapted to a tropical climate. Let's look on the right side of the screen. Caucasians developed much later. And when they emerged 40,000 years ago, now compare 40,000 to 200,000. When they appeared, they were mixed with Neanderthal genes because for more than 1,000 years during the Ice Age, they were cross-breeding with Neanderthals. Caucasians have weak recessive genes. Ask your nurses or your doctors. Don't believe me. Get on the internet and Google it. Caucasians have robust features that are adapted to Arctic temperatures and climate. They have pink to colorless, pale skin tones, light-colored eyes, brown, blue, green, hazel, gray. They have low, flat foreheads. Their hair comes in various colors: brown, red, blonde, sometimes straight, sometimes curly, sometimes wavy. Caucasians have large noses, very large noses, with a very shallow cilion indentation. Now remember, the cilion indentation is right between the eyes. And the Caucasian indentation is very shallow and sometimes almost non-existent. So those large noses have very narrow nostrils. They have thin lips, lips that are inturned at the opening of the mouth. They have long torsos with short arms and legs. When it comes to the buttocks, they have flat, undeveloped buttocks, which is a signal immediately that tells you that they have not been walking upright for very long. They have hairy bodies, and this is especially pronounced in males. Just go to the beach, y'all, and let some of the men take off their shirts, and you will see hair growing from the top of their heads down to their buttocks. So they have very hairy bodies, especially pronounced in males. They have fewer sweat glands and pores. And finally, they have a very thick, heavy layer of subcutaneous fat. And this is how and why. When the cold weather comes and the snow, you see some of them walking around in their shirts, while Africans are bundled up in coats. Now, when it comes to these differences, I'm going to emphasize a little further. And I'm doing that only to point out the nonsense of this notion of Caucasians being somehow superior. Here's a piece of common sense. What happens when you bleach a cloth? Take a black cloth and you bleach it and bleach it and bleach it and bleach it until it is white. By the time it gets to be white or near white, you can take your baby finger and punch a hole in it. So Caucasians, these superior people, are doubly compromised genetically. How is that? First of all, they are compromised by that Arctic environment. That extreme cold caused them to lose every dominant African gene. That's the first compromise. And then the Neanderthal interbreeding caused a further loss of African modern human genes. These are the superior people. Now, I realize this makes them very unhappy. Frankly, I don't care. After they have been insulting everyone with skin tone all over the world for hundreds, if not 1,000 years, well, the things they have been saying were lies. But what I am presenting here is scientific truth. So eat it up, y'all. Sprinkle a little sugar or saccharin on it. It's a new day. Genetic DNA experts, and again, let me emphasize, these are Caucasian genetic DNA experts. So it's not coming from me. I'm just repeating what they have put out there. So these experts further reveal the large amount of non-human Neanderthal genes in today's Caucasian populations that result from interbreeding with Neanderthals. In the words of the Caucasian scientists, the percentage of Neanderthal DNA is about 20%. Woo! 20% in people of European or Caucasian background. Two new studies done in 2014, or at least reported in 2014. They report that 20, and I'm quoting, these Caucasian genetic DNA experts, 20% of Neanderthal DNA still lives on in Caucasians, influencing the skin, the hair, and diseases that Caucasians have today. You can find one of these, well, the quotation. You can find this quotation by April Holloway that was published in 2014 at the following website. And I've even thrown in an extra website saying pretty much the same thing. Let me put on my African hat. Well, I never took it off. In African terms, Caucasians are an abomination. It is Caucasian scientists who are telling us who they truly are and why they have such a violent, hateful nature, and possibly why they are becoming extinct. This genetic mixture, I'm wondering, is this why their mere presence killed millions and millions of indigenous people all over the world? All they had to do was show up, and people began to drop like flies because these Caucasians were breathing the same air as these indigenous people who had never come in contact with any of these Neanderthal genetic traits and diseases. Let's talk again about the virus. Continental Africans are not getting the virus. And it was a wake-up call for me when they began to panic, because when it hit America and Europe, you find people on the media and people in government predicting that African people were going to be stacked up like cordwood in the streets. However, continental Africans are not getting the virus. And those who get it from direct contact with those Caucasians that brought it in, they are not dying from it like the Caucasians. Continental Africans have less than 30,000 deaths total. And Africa has almost twice the size and the population of America and Europe combined. See, even their maps lie. When they drew their maps, they drew the African continent small. So Caucasians average more than 50,000 COVID-19 deaths on a daily basis. The link below features a chart, and it compares worldwide death rates. I didn't include all of that because I wanted to keep this video short. But knowing all this, wow, some of you are going to be angry when I say this, but it needs to be said. Knowing all of this, do some Africans, do some black folks still want to inject these Neanderthal genes into their unborn children by interbreeding with Caucasians? You prefer Caucasians? Go ahead. And this is real science. It is not racism. This is real truth, not racism. And I'm sorry if it bursts that little bubble that some people are living in, but it's time to get real. Do whatever you want with your supposedly superior people. It is your business. However, don't say that no one ever told you. And of course, here is more documentation. But this video is a wake-up call for African people. If you never had one before, this should be it. And if it is not a wake-up call for you, then you must be comatose. Caucasian extinction is guaranteed. Caucasians are going crazy right now because they know that they are becoming extinct, and it is guaranteed. They have an irreversible 0.7% birth rate worldwide. Let me repeat that. Caucasian extinction is guaranteed because they have an irreversible 0.7% birth rate worldwide. Does that mean that they are going the way of their Neanderthal ancestors? But here is another question that I am posing. How is a self-proclaimed superior race be so weak that it is rapidly dying out and they can't reverse it? Well, I'm just saying. You know something? Truth will always rise, even if it is buried underground for hundreds of years. That negative Caucasian birth rate is now radically reduced much further by the COVID-19 deaths and disabilities among Caucasian women of childbearing ages. But no one is reporting any changes. Now here is biblical guidance for Africans. From Psalms 2, verse 1. Why do the heathens rage and the people imagine a vain thing? Acts 2, verses 3 through 5. Let us break their bands asunder and cast away their cords from us. He that sitteth in the heavens shall laugh. The Lord shall have them in derision. Then shall he speak unto them in his wrath, and vex them in his sore displeasure. in their desperation and hatred. Caucasians are committing genocide against African people everywhere. But let me tell you something, it will not help them. It is only going to increase God's wrath and retributive justice against them. They're dropping like flies and cannot replace themselves with new births for future generations. It won't help them because the numbers are against them. Africans greatly outnumber Caucasians worldwide, especially those on the continent. Additionally, Africans are able to replace themselves by giving birth to future generations. However, African Americans need a wake-up call. It was reported that in 1990, the black birth rate was 26.1 points higher than the white rate. In 2010, it was reportedly only 4 points higher. Now, if this trend continues, the black birth rate will soon equal the white rate. However, they lie so much we don't know if this is true either. So as individuals, we all have to use our own rational judgment. I'm going to offer up an African prayer to Almighty God. I'm sending it to not only Almighty God, I am calling upon the African angels. You know, Paula White is a fool. Calling on African angels? Really? Paula? Those African angels are the ones that are kicking your behinds right now. And you're calling more? Help yourself. I am calling upon the African ancestors. Please, hurry your work for us. In Psalms 31, verse 18, it is written, "Let the lying lips be put to silence, which speak grievous things proudly and contemptuously against the righteous people of Africa." In Micah 2, verse 1, it reads, "Woe to them that devise iniquity, and work evil upon their beds, and when the morning is light, they practice it, because it is in the power of their hand." And in Proverbs 11, verse 21, you can read that assuredly the evil man will not go unpunished, but the descendants of the righteous Africans will be delivered. Ecclesiastes 8, verses 11 through 13. Because sentence against an evil work is not executed speedily, therefore the heart of the wicked is fully set in them to do evil. Though a sinner does evil 100 times, and his days may be prolonged, yet surely I know that it shall be well with them that fear God, who fear before him. But it shall not be well with the wicked, neither shall the wicked prolong his days. And those days are as a shadow, because he fears not before God. Oh, woe to the ones, woe to the wicked ones who have God in their mouths. Woe to the ones who blaspheme against God by saying that God sanctions and upholds and blesses their evil and their wickedness. Woe to them. Praise God. Ashe, Ashe, Ashe. Well, folks, thanks for tuning in. Please hit the like, subscribe, share buttons. And remember the words of Imhotep, my family. First know yourself. We know about everyone else in the world except ourselves, which means that we know little or nothing, because every human experience relates to self. But we take ourselves even out of the picture. So first know yourself. Then knowledge of God and the universe will be available to you. God bless you. I also leave you with the words of Lao Tzu. Knowing others is intelligence. Knowing yourself is true wisdom. Mastering others is strength. But family, mastering yourself is true power. This is Dr. Adetokunbo Borishade saying thank you. Thank you for tuning in. May God bless you richly, my African people. And I will see you next time.